We got a big battle in front of us, baby. And it's just started. So let's get funky like a monkey. For 16 years, the American dream has done it with you. Don't fail me now. Lord, don't fail me now.
All right. The Wrestlebros are back. And back with a special guest. Yeah.
Yeah. We're here. Yes.
Got the top heel in the territory.
Yeah.
After Lou's babyface turn tonight, let's see if it goes down at the Sportatorium.
Back in the territory tonight. Just spark a rating.
We're gonna finish with a huge angle.
Yeah, you gotta pop it. You got to pop the rating. Get some big numbers for this blow off here.
And don't worry, even though you're gonna go out on your back, we're still gonna let you get your heat back. Don't worry.
That's all right. I'm gonna go learn. I'm gonna go somewhere else and learn new holds.
There you go.
All right, Joe's here from the Sports Group Therapy Podcast. Our good friends.
Yes, sir.
Of course, Captain Lou, like always. Vic Blaze here. And we're going to talk a little Elimination Chamber. Did you guys enjoy this? Did you have a good time overall?
I did, yeah. I like the show. I like that it wasn't 5 hours long. I like that. It's getting ridiculous. But, yeah, I thought it was a good show overall. What about you, Lou?
I thought the show was... I like the fact that the show was shorter. It felt like the show moved very quickly, which was good. From a booking perspective, there were some things there that I didn't really like too much. Again, the show, the effort from all the wrestlers, everything was really good. I just the booking, a little suspect for my flavor.
All right, at least it was they tried. I think it was unpredictable. Even the things I thought were definitely gonna happen, I was like, oh, okay. They hit you with a couple of swerves here and there, so they kept you on your toes. I mean, I thought it was fun for the most part. I had a good time. It went by fast, which is always a good thing. Let's start with that Smackdown Elimination Chamber match. With the winner, of course, would face Roman Reigns right after. And they started with Daniel Bryan and Cesaro, right? Who just tore the freaking house down. Daniel Bryan, everything he's touching right now is like amazing. This man is on the tippy top of his game.
We're gonna call him King Midas, because everything he touches turns to gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's got a lot of influence now. He's gained everyone's respect over the years, and it's working. SmackDown is actually pretty fun to watch. Not just Roman. They have a few guys that are interesting. Like Cesaro, what they've been doing with him is interesting. Shinsuke and Daniel Bryan and the girls. It's like it's a pretty consistent show. It's gotten a lot better. So I thought Cesaro looked really good in this match. I thought his performance was exceptional. I thought he really killed it. He looked like a star. Lou, we were talking about this before. I kind of would have preferred. They finished with Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso were the final two, with Jey Uso pinning Cesaro. I don't know if that was what I would have did. I kind of liked Daniel Bryan and Cesaro starting and finishing.
Ooh. Because
as fans, I think those are the two favorites. I think that's who everyone thought was going to win, one or the other. And, they're both – I don't know if Cesaro's a babyface or a heel. He's kind of been – he's leaning babyface right now.
Yeah, he's certainly a babyface.
To me, when it was Jey Uso and Daniel Bryan, it kind of took me out of it. I was like, oh, well, Daniel Bryan's going to win. And then, of course, you had after Daniel Bryan wins, you have the Roman Reigns coming out, and it looks like he's going to destroy Daniel Bryan. But, of course – Daniel Bryan's like, I'm going to make these 10 seconds interesting. And, he puts them in a little bit of a hold, and, it was fun while it lasted. Then Roman Reigns finishes them off with some ground and pound, and then he puts them in that guillotine, right?
Yep.
He puts him in the guillotine after he was already knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it worked. I thought it worked for me. Of course, you had Edge right after. I know this is not what you guys wanted necessarily. It is what I wanted. It's probably what I would have did. Edge. They don't have a big marquee match for WrestleMania. This is the biggest match you can make. I don't know if they have the opportunity to get anyone else, any other huge stars. But out of the old school stars, the part-timers, whatever, I think Edge is the most exciting. Like, is the one I want to see because of his story. So, Edge and Roman, I'm totally cool with that. The only thing that's probably going to close out WrestleMania, and Roman Reigns will probably win. So that's not necessarily a happy ending.
No, yeah, it's not a happy ending. Well, first of all, little gimmick infringement here. There we go. I don't think it's a happy ending, but I didn't. Going back to the pay-per-view, I didn't understand. Now, you have this whole Elimination Chamber match. I thought the main event would happen. The title shot would happen later on in the night. I didn't realize it would happen right after.
Me too.
Yeah, so. I mean that's like a money. It's like he's cashing in. I don't understand. Like it just like what is he? It leaves it with no doubt that Roman Reigns is gonna run him over. Now I'm sure that's the plan because I just that because wasn't that like how it was booked in order to just make a lot like it's the Romans has all the odds stacked against the baby faces. Either way I just don't understand what was that accomplishing. He's already as a dominant as a super dominant champion, like what are you gaining out of this? So it was a little, I didn't understand that part of it, but the match itself was great. I'm glad Bryan won. That's who I wanted to win. But I thought we were going to get later on a competitive Bryan versus Roman match out of this, and we didn't. So that was a little disappointing. But anyway, that's the way she goes. What do you guys think? I don't know.
Well, I mean, this match was it was like a roller coaster up and down in terms of how the story began, the arcs and all that. I thought to myself with Bryan and Cesaro starting the match was actually the best pairing to put together. One is because you want to tell if Daniel Bryan was going to be the ultimate winner, you wanted to be able to get him in there from the beginning because you want to build the sympathy for him. Meaning, if he's the babyface, it's going to make Roman Reigns look that much more of a heel as if he just walked out literally moments after the match was over, and he has his match with him. As the match progressed, I watched the match, and of course of the 6 guys that were in this match, the only 2 guys that I thought would be able to win this match would have either been Daniel Bryan or Cesaro. Because when you take a look at the other participants, you look at Jey Uso. Listen, Jey Uso's been doing great work, but the way that he's been booked, he's Roman Reigns' minion. Unless you're going to book him to turn on his cousin this quickly, not going to happen. Kevin Owens has already wrestled Roman Reigns for the title 3 times previous. And although all 3 matches were good, with the exception of the little hiccup in the Royal Rumble, you don't want to see that match anymore. When you see Baron Corbin and Sami Zayn, all due respect to both guys, they both do good work in their own lanes, but no one's really going to believe that either one of them are going to win the big match. So it leaves you with Cesaro, leaves you with Daniel Bryan. So they start the match, and they do their great wrestling, all the things that they do, and they do it excellently in ring, both of them. As the match progresses, other guys come in, you start seeing the stories that are being told, and in the end, when you have Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, and Jey Uso, I thought to myself, okay, when Jey Uso beat Cesaro, I was like, that's the wrong thing to happen. Because at that point in the match, if you have Daniel Bryan and Cesaro, in the end, you're telling a really good story because both guys started the match and now both guys are finishing the match. You leave the audience with a certain level of suspense because at this point, you're like, okay, who's going to go? Realistically, I would have preferred for Cesaro to win only because I think that it would have been a ginormous victory for him. He would have looked like $1 million, even if they would have booked everything exactly the same with Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
He would have looked like $1 million because with all due respect to Daniel Bryan, listen, we all love and revere, Daniel Bryan. He's fantastic. However, we've already seen this. We saw it at WrestleMania 30. And when he was the babyface, beating all odds with the I don't want to call him the corporation, with the McMahon family. Then 2 years ago at WrestleMania, he did the exact same role, but as the heel, losing to Kofi Kingston during the Kofi Mania bit. I don't think that we needed to see that again. For Cesaro, it would have been huge to have him win this match and have him, even if the booking would have been exactly the same with Roman Reigns. Now, when the match concludes and Daniel Bryan beats Jey Uso, like Victor said, that was absolutely that was a no-brainer in terms of that the ending was no longer in doubt once Cesaro was eliminated. When you go to Roman Reigns against Daniel Bryan, I thought to myself, okay, this is a really dickish thing for him to do. It's the perfect dick heel thing to do, to say, hey, I'm going to let you guys wrestle for an hour and kill each other, and I'm just going to show up nice and fresh and defend my title after you're basically, I'm wrestling the broken rubble that's left of you. It was brilliantly booked when Daniel Bryan got the label lock on him, and for those few seconds, it was like, oh my goodness, what can we get here? That was brilliantly done. After that, obviously Roman Reigns got all his stuff in. There was no reason for him to put the guillotine on Daniel Bryan because he was clearly out, and that's fine. The referee rang the bell. He was just like, okay, let's get some mercy on him. If the segment would have ended right then and there, that would have been perfect, only because of the fact that now you have Daniel Bryan as the sympathetic babyface who wrestled for 45 minutes or an hour in the Elimination Chamber, to then basically get abused by Roman Reigns, clearly not getting a fair shot at the title. And now you have a story to tell moving forward. When Edge came in and speared Roman Reigns and knocked him down, and then, did all the mimicking, saying, hey, I want your WrestleMania. And then the WrestleMania sign had all the pyro and all this stupid stuff. This is like WWE overproducing it. At that point, I thought to myself, okay, so this entire exercise, the first hour of this show, the entire exercise of this was for the WWE to tell us that Edge and Roman Reigns are going to wrestle the main event of WrestleMania. And I thought to myself, this could have been the final segment on any SmackDown show, and that would have sufficed just as good. Because what it came across to me was that the Elimination Chamber match and the subsequent title match we got after that was meaningless. And now it's like, okay, that's how it felt like. Now, whether or not WWE is going to now book Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns at Fastlane, because apparently now we have another pay-per-view coming up before WrestleMania, that can kind of be where we get the actual match between Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. But it felt in that particular moment like the work of all the other wrestlers that they busted their butts inside that cage was all for naught, because it was that one thing with Edge. And listen, we all love Edge, but at the same time, I would have been like, that's not the spot for that. Let Roman Reigns walk out with his heat, and then when Roman Reigns can start talking smack, and then you can have essentially on SmackDown, you can have the authority figure Adam Pearce, excuse me. I was gonna say Adam Page. I'm like, hey, he's coming from.
And when you said Page, I was gonna correct you and say, no, Cole.
No, no, but if Adam Pearce then can basically come out and say, okay, Roman, you got yours on Sunday. Now you're gonna get Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. And at that point, Edge could hit him with the spear, blah, blah, blah. And you get the double whammy at that point. And then you can start building it. I just thought that the way that segment ended kind of left me feeling like I don't want to believe that WWE basically dogged out 6 talents to just tell us what the main event of WrestleMania was going to be. And that's how it kind of came across to me when that whole segment ended. I just was like, I felt like we just, like the match and everything subsequent to it was meaningless at the end, because all the people were talking about is Edge and Roman. And I'm like, you do realize you had 6 guys who wrestled for 45 minutes beating the hell out of each other. Where's the shine for them after all of this is over?
I mean, the same thing. I mean, that's fair, but remember when Edge first cashed in on Cena after the first Elimination Chamber, but the first cash in.
Yep.
They didn't mention, after that it was, that there was no mention of anybody else. That was what happened. So, but I do get where you're saying. It was just a big setup just to have this whole thing happen, which they had the fucking fireworks for the WrestleMania sign very conveniently placed for this.
Yeah, of course.
Case. You know, wow, what luck?
Yeah, like what serendipity that this all worked itself out,
Serendipity is the word. Yeah. What the fuck?
Those fireworks need to be an end of the show thing. When you point at the sign, that's an end of the show moment. Like, why are we doing the fireworks?
It's just ridiculous. Yeah, but
I mean,
sometimes you just gotta let these things go. But sometimes it's hard to get past it. It's just like, what the fuck?
No, I couldn't get past that. When I saw that, I just rolled my eyes and I'm like, man, this is just WWE overproducing.
Absolutely.
That's just overproducing. At that point, what you needed to do is you need to do a better job of miking the camera, or basically telling Edge, you got to speak a little louder so that you can basically be the one that communicates, hey, Roman, I'm fighting you at WrestleMania, and not have the announcers have to do it, because obviously the fans could not audibly hear anything that was coming out of Edge's mouth after he speared Roman Reigns and put him down.
yeah.
He pointed at the sign. That's a legally binding contract these days.
I guess so. I guess in the WWE it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's all you need to do is point at the sign. WWE definitely has a overdoing it issue. It's either they get too much heat, or they stay with an angle for too long, or they stay with a feud for way too long, or if something gets over, they do it every week until it's not over anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to that United States Championship match. You had Bobby Lashley, the champion, against Riddle, against John Morrison, who earned a spot in the pre-show because Keith Lee could not make it for whatever reason. He's hurt, right?
Medically unavailable.
Medically unavailable. Okay.
Not clear to compete.
Now, this unavailable declaration, did it occur at a medical facility? I would assume, right?
A local medical
facility.
There are no hospitals.
There are no hospitals. They're not even urgent cares. Why can't you?
It's funny that you mentioned hospitals and local medical facility.
City MD, come on, Orlando, what's going on?
I was watching someone who just cut a promo saying, "I'm going to send you to the emergency room," and I was shocked that he didn't say, "Who the hell was?" Do you remember? Did you remember hearing that recently?
No, but
I'm going to send you to the emergency room. Oh, I think Lashley said it.
Lashley
said it to Miz.
Yeah, but you see, that
I was shocked.
But that doesn't make any sense. If you're going to cut a promo and say, "Oh, I'm going to send you to the ER," no, I'm sending you to the hospital.
At least he said
it rolls off the tongue better.
Not an option to use that word. So you got to go to the next best thing.
Next best thing. I'm sending you to urgent care, pal.
So this was a nice little match here. It sucks the way they use Morrison, because when Morrison is put into matches with other guys that are as athletic as he is, like Riddle, when those guys touched, I was like, oh shit. Like, it was like fireworks for those moments. I was like, whoa, these dudes are freaky athletes. I thought Riddle looked really, really good. I know he's overcoming some of what they have him doing, because they just basically have him telling dad jokes in the back.
Awful.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't make me laugh, so I'm not going to say it's funny. He's made me laugh probably 2 out of the 15, 16 times they've made him say a joke. Like twice I laughed. And I know he could be funny, but they're forcing it. Don't force it. Let it come natural. Let him be himself, and it'll work. I thought they did a good job of protecting Lashley. Of course, the finish is Riddle hitting Lashley with the crutch.
Oh, he swung to the fences with that crush.
Boy, did he ever!
Yeah.
They're like, hey, listen, if we want to make Lashley's got to sell this, bro. You better swing. Better swing like you mean it.
Yeah. He probably told him to lay it in.
Oh yeah, that dude's back is like a damn, the side of a house. So
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, that Lashley is just a monster. But yeah, they made him look really, really strong. He did a lot of good stuff. Lashley's been looking really, really good. Not just physically, not just the booking. I think his in-ring, everything is clicking for him. His look, his suits, Everything is
Suits.
clicking. He's got MVP when he needs a nice promo done. When he talks, he keeps it really, really short and sweet.
Perfect.
You know, it's working. It's working.
Yep.
Riddle goes over, hits the Bo Derek on John Morrison. He straps the belt across his chest over the shoulder. I thought he looked cool walking out with that title. I think that title fits him.
He wore it like a merce.
Yeah, hey, it works for him. It works for him. I thought he looked really, really cool walking out with that title. I don't think Lashley was hurt at all, especially now that we know what they're doing with him. And Morrison, he did his job, and he finally got some action that wasn't just bad comedy. So I think everyone looked better leaving this match than they did coming in.
Yeah, Morrison was in there so Lashley didn't have to lose in a one-on-one match. Just simple as that. And yeah, that belt is perfect for a guy like Riddle right now. The mid-card title, Riddle looks great with it. No, I have no problem with that. And as we see later on in the night, there was a reason they wanted to get it off Lashley and keep Lashley strong. So, and as you said, that they have really built Lashley so well. Everything you said was on point. Keep his interviews, keep his whatever he says, keep it short. Let MVP be the mouthpiece. And Lashley is primed for a long overdue title run. With the big belt, I hope that's what happens going forward. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but still, just the build for Lashley has been tremendous, and it's going to lead to something big at WrestleMania. So I love that he's in that he's going for that now. But so this match was served its purpose perfectly.
Oh, I mean, I agree. I mean, listen, in all honesty, this match was probably the best booked match on the card. In all honesty, it really was. And the weird thing about it is that as much as I hate the fact that Keith Lee wasn't in it, I think it actually was better that he wasn't in it, because what ends up happening is if Keith Lee's in this match, Bobby Lashley can't be booked as strong, because to do so you're going to be hurting Keith Lee image wise. So knowing that Morrison is in the match, Morrison and Riddle are about the same size, and Bobby Lashley's got at least 50 pounds on each one of them. And he just basically picked them up. And I mean, he just tossed them around like sacks of garbage for, the 10 minutes or so this match went. It was the only moments that at some point I was watching the match and I was like, yo, man, I feel bad for these guys. I feel bad for Riddle and Morrison, because I'm like, they have gotten a grand total of 0 offense on Bobby Lashley. They're only getting offense on each other. And at some point I was looking at this and saying, okay, well, when is Lashley going to start selling? And as soon as I said it, they got him down momentarily. Listen, the booking was done well, in terms of keeping Lashley, getting the belt off of Lashley without beating him. In all honesty, the only match that I've seen Lashley lose one-on-one over the last, 6 months or so was that one match on Raw where he lost to Riddle, which was ridiculous in the way it was booked, but I understood why they did it, because Riddle can't lose every single time, because then the fans start losing hope in him to have any shot against Lashley. The only one thing that might hurt Riddle in all of this is that now the way that he's got to be booked is he's got to be booked strong, because it looked like he won on a fluke because he didn't beat the champion. He clearly was outmatched by Bobby Lashley. Now, I know that they're going to move him on. They, meaning the WWE, are moving Lashley on to the WWE title picture. But I think that ultimately now Riddle's going to be good with the title. It's just a matter that he's got to be booked strong in order for people to kind of forget about the way that he won the title. For a guy like Morrison, this could actually be a positive thing for him, because, again, he won't be doing bad comedy. He could be separated from The Miz somewhat and then be able to be put in a program that he can get his teeth into as a singles against Riddle, because when you paired them together, it was a good match, and they're roughly about the same size, and I think you'll get good quality entertaining matches from both of them one-on-one for the US title. And there's a lot of guys on the Raw roster that can really benefit from having somebody like Riddle being the champion, because it evens out the playing field in terms of how you can book the matches and make them more entertaining. Whereas with Lashley being the champion, they were booking him like Superman, so you can't really do much to him. So again, it was the best booked match on the show in terms of how it was done, and obviously now with what they're doing with Lashley, we don't have any worries about him going after Riddle, at least not in the short term. So, like I said, very well done for what this match was.
Yeah, we'll get into Lashley even more a little later. Let's go to that women's tag team championship match. Nia and Shayna versus Bianca and Sasha. Well, before I get into this, I don't necessarily agree with partnering every champion with a potential opponent. It feels like they've done it over and over. You can do it if I say NXT can do it once in a while, then Raw can do it once in a while, then SmackDown can do it, like once a year type thing. But it feels like they're kind of doing it with Charlotte and Asuka. They did it with Charlotte and Asuka before Charlotte got hurt. They did it with Bayley and Sasha. Now they're doing it with Sasha and Bianca. And I can't even keep up. But
it's called the booking crutch.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. She won the Rumble. Call her out. Sasha, I respect you. I think you're the best talent, however you want to cut it, slice it. I think you're the best, and I want to beat the best. That's it. I'm coming for that ass. That's how I would do it.
Coming for the title.
I wish I won the women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I would have worded it a little differently. I would have been like, I'm coming for the title.
I'm coming to send you to a local medical facility.
Yeah, there you go. Perfectly done.
Perfect. God, pal, that's good shit.
Good shit. And I wasn't necessarily sure about this match, but as I'm watching it, I'm realizing, damn, they could have easily did Sasha against Nia, since Nia was going to pin her anyway, and Nia can get the same exact victory, because it works with Nia, even though I'm not a huge fan of Nia. Her size is undeniable. She can beat anyone without cheating, whenever the hell she wants, and even if you're the better talent, like Sasha's the biggest star, whatever, Sasha should still have to overcome Nia because of her size and because of her all those power moves she does. If you were going to have Sasha get pinned and it had nothing to do with Bianca, then why not just set up the match anyway? Whatever. Nia could pin her. You have this feud to Fastlane. Sasha overcomes that Fastlane, and then that's it. We get out of this random tag match. Find some damn tag teams, keep them together for a while, and then you can have these tag matches. I would have preferred them. They have the girls from NXT come up here since they challenged them.
I don't think there should be a women's tag team championship. It's too much. Fucking too much. They don't have there's too much going on. How many times now they got to put the women's champion on in with like a tag team championship feud, because they don't have enough to separate them and make them their own entities. I'm not. Listen, I hope I don't sound like a male chauvinist pig here, but it's just too much women's wrestling for me, for my sake. I'm sorry, it's just too much.
I don't think it's, for me, for my taste, I don't think it's too much women's wrestling. I think they have the talents to do it, but they don't know how to do it. Based on what they've shown us, they don't know. They know how to manage the women talent in the singles. For the singles titles, they do a good job with that. But when it comes to the tag team, they're not doing a great job. I don't know how to fix it. I don't think getting rid of it now, once you've introduced it, I think that would be a little bit of a slap on the face. They need to figure it out for sure. But for me, this was a nothing match that didn't need to be on the show. Maybe Asuka, they should have found something for Asuka to do, or for Sasha to do. Defend those titles. Keep them important. Have people ready. You have plenty of big female talent, big stars. Do something with the tag titles. Build people up, build up some tag teams, and then change focus. We did get what's his name? Carmella's guy?
Reginald.
Yeah, Reginald got involved. So he's in love with Sasha. So that's the story that we're going into. Even though he's kind of with Carmella, So are we still doing Carmella and Sasha? Like, I thought that was over. It's good to keep it going every now and then, but he's showing up every week. Like, if they're still in a feud, WrestleMania is fast approaching. We need to move on. We need to get on with the story. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do, but they need to figure it out.
Well, this particular match, just in all honesty, this match shouldn't have happened. Let's just be for real. This match was essentially thrown together, and the reason why I say that this match should have not taken place is because, first off, with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, the next big match they should have is against Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, because of the fact that Raquel and Dakota won the Dusty Cup and earned a shot at the tag team titles. So that should be the next big match that Nia and Shayna have. Number two is, piggybacking off your point, Vic, when you're talking about, hey, Reginald's involved in the match. Listen, this is easily a point where you can have Carmella come in and basically ask for a match against Sasha Banks. Get that. And again, it's more interesting to have a one-on-one match for the women's title, for the SmackDown women's title, whereas we are with the understanding that Reginald is going to get involved. What ends up happening is that at that point, you can involve Bianca Belair at that point as a means to quote unquote help Sasha Banks if you want to tell that story. There are ways to do it. So in all honesty, this was a match that was thrown together. I don't like the fact that Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks lost. You can put the blame on Reginald, but again, the heat should not be there. If Sasha and Bianca is going to be the match we're going to be telling at WrestleMania, then both women should be winning. There should be no point where either one is losing, because you want to build that so that when you get to WrestleMania, you're like, all right, both of these women have been on the collision course. They haven't in however many months. And then you get to the world where something's got to give, someone's got to lose. And then you can tell that story around the women's title. But putting this match together, it was awkward. It was just thrown together. The match was what it was. It was a nothing match, even though the tag team titles were on the line. Because if the heels win like they did, well, all right, life goes on, but it makes the baby faces look bad. If the baby faces lose, we're right back to the same booking crush that WWE has been using ad nauseum for decades, putting rivals or potential rivals together as tag team. So it was a bad match. I would have probably chosen a different match. Shayna and Nia would not have even been on this show. I would have probably had Sasha Banks versus Carmella again, just because, again, with Carmella, you can put her in this spot. Yeah, it's kind of a placeholder, but at the same time, they had a good match at the Royal Rumble. You can rematch them here, and put them in a situation where Bianca would have to help Sasha. And then you can start building that tension, because then Sasha Banks could be looking at her and saying, thank you, but I don't need your help, blah, 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 start the tension going. Then that can go to promos where each one's getting a little snickier with each other, and then there'll be like a sticking point where it's like, all right, the shit has hit the fan, and they're on a collision course at WrestleMania. But to have them lose in a meaningless tag team match, no, this was bad, really, really bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Couldn't agree more. If you're wondering, I didn't pay attention to this match, so you might as well.
Well, there you go, Joe. There you go.
Oh,
Very unprofessional.
Okay. Main event time. Yeah, so that's why it was so short. So technically,
Well, 5 matches.
Yeah, you have the Roman Reigns really, really, really short match.
Right.
Yeah, so it's.
I mean, you figure that after Roman Reigns came out there, if you wanted to fill time, you couldn't have Paul Lee cut a 10-minute promo with Roman Reigns. It's just like.
I mean, yeah, but it's not even about.
I get it, but
I mean, it felt the pay-per-view felt like it was a good length, but I don't know. I was like, you can definitely find meaningful match. It's like there's certain shows I'm watching and I'm like, whoa, how are you gonna squeeze 8 matches into this pay-per-view? And then right here, they don't have 5 matches to squeeze into the pay-per-view. That's crazy.
There needed to be another match put in here, at least one more. I
thought that match could have been Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan, going later on.
I agree. I think they wanted to overdo the heat on Roman, and they overdid it. And if whatever, that's a choice. But to me, when it comes to these pay-per-views, there has to, especially since we can't necessarily get it on TV because of commercial breaks, interruptions, and you're limited in time. You can't really have a great 20-minute match on television. You can, but you're gonna have 2 commercial breaks that ruin the match. It's those pay-per-views when you get these opportunities to have these epic matches, and Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns should be able. They've done it before, so I know for a fact it'll be a great match. And maybe they're saving it for 3-4 months down the road, and that's why they did it the way they did it. But you had an opportunity to go out there, do exactly what Joe said. Start with the Smackdown Chamber, and then maybe go to that co-main event. Maybe Roman and Daniel can go before the last Chamber, and we're good to go. Or even if they want to do it last, I wouldn't do it last, but if they wanted to do it last, at least when Edge hits the spear and points at the sign, at least it makes more sense. At least you go off the air with the pointing of the sign.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go to this main event. You had Drew McIntyre defending his championship inside the Elimination Chamber, which is crazy, but I like that they're showing the contrast between the 2 champions. You have a super uber babyface fighting champion, and then you have this guy who's looking for every shortcut. He's like, I'll come out and beat your ass when I'm ready, but I'm not gonna fight if I don't have to. I'm not gonna fight for longer than I have to. So I like that at least they highlight that contrast. So hopefully that helps fans lean more towards Drew, and he gets more support from fans because of what they're showing us. All right, you had AJ Styles, Kofi Kingston, Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, and Randy Orton. Now, right off the bat, hearing those names, I'm not saying those guys don't deserve to be in this match, because they do. However, if you do the math, you will find out that the average age in this match is over 40. And if you do both chambers, the average age is 39.
Yeah.
So even if the 12 participants deserve to be in the match, WWE has an age problem. They need to find a way to get 20-year-olds on the show. Like, just there has to be a few that you have, like, under contract. You have 500 wrestlers on the contract. You got to do some shaking up of the rosters. SmackDown still, everything is fine with SmackDown. I think SmackDown is doing a great job. But Raw, since they're struggling, I think going back to the 90s, doing the new generation thing, and just having an influx of young talent, like a bunch, either fresh faces, which is fine, even if you're 38 or 39, like maybe Damian Priest might be, but he's at least a fresh face.
Well, I guess the question becomes is that if you're looking to go younger, meaning have 20-year-olds, people in their 20s in these matches, what I see in a lot of the WWE rosters, that a lot of the talents that are the best prepared to get over are not the younger talents.
Yeah.
Because the younger talents, and again, this is an issue of experience and styles, meaning a lot of the younger wrestlers of today who are in their 20s, for the most part, this isn't an absolute, but for the most part, it's a lot of junior heavyweight wrestlers, and they want to do a lot of high spots and a lot of things that whereas it's not necessarily a bad thing, but if your style is heavily predicated on that without any foundational appearance of toughness or of being able understanding fundamentals, how to sell, how to tell a physical story in the ring, you can only do but so many spots before people are like, yeah, we've seen it. Next.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with having 6 40-year-olds. I don't care if they're look at the damn Raw match. Just look at it. Yes, they're all prepared. They're all great. They'll always be great, and we'll love them forever.
Yes.
However, you need to stop relying on 40-year-olds. I'm sorry to
They're still
tell
the
me
best
that there's 12 spots. 12 spots.
Who else you want
And
to
one
put in there?
spot can't go to
All
a young
right.
guy.
Okay, that's fine.
That's
Who would
insane.
okay, that's fine. Who would you have put in the match?
I tell you what,
Anybody. Andrade's 31 years old. Put Andrade and Jeff Hardy.
Andrade hasn't been on WWE TV in
Yes,
several months.
I know that because they don't trust none of the young guys. That's my
Andrade
point.
can't get over.
He's
Unless
not over
you
enough.
have
Andrade was when Andrade, Angel Garza, and Zelina Vega were together, they were as over as almost anyone else.
But she's not there no
For a
more.
nice run. Yes,
But
they had
the
a
thing
really,
is,
really nice run. The April, March, whatever.
Okay, but the thing is, Zelina's not there anymore. Andrade's not been on WWE TV in several months, and even if he were to come back, he's not. With all due respect to him, he's not over enough to sit in that field and to be viewed as an equal ability to win. Now you can.
I'm sorry. I think that's bullshit.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Because
Really?
it's not
I'm
a matter
sorry.
of
Sheamus is not as exciting as me seeing Andrade right now.
Okay,
He just
but
isn't.
it- but it-
Neither is
but
Jeff
here-
Hardy.
I
I love Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy's a Hall of Famer, but they haven't booked him strong either.
I got you, and he didn't need to be in that match.
Exactly my point. You got these
Well,
old men hurting themselves, having a dangerous ass match, and you have a bunch of young people. You don't even give them a chance to be in the match.
No, but what I'm saying is that it's not a sake of having the younger wrestlers in for the sake of showcasing them in this environment. When you get placed into a main event slot, regardless of your age, part of it becomes just a matter of the perception of how you were viewed by the audience. And if you put Andrade in this match without him being presented on TV for months on end, this has nothing to do.
I'm not saying to randomly throw him in the match. I'm saying Andrade. There's no reason why Andrade shouldn't be on television every single week.
Correct. I
And
agree.
when they pulled him off, even Dominic Mysterio was red hot. They pulled him off television.
No way. No
Yes,
way.
he was.
Dominic Mysterio was red hot for that little bit working against Seth Rollins, but once he got separated from Rollins,
Okay, or
not
Murphy.
immediately working against
Murphy
anybody
was
else.
hot too. He was hot
Again,
enough. He was hotter than Jeff Hardy. I know for a
Working
fact.
Rollins. Once he got separated from that, Murphy's a fantastic. He's a fantastic talent, but it just didn't work out. It has nothing to do with his talent. It has to do with the way he's booked.
That's my point. What I'm saying is, before you get to these moments, you should have young people ready to go.
I don't disagree.
That is my point. I'm not saying that this. Just look at the match. The fact that they're only using 40-year-olds for the last 4 or 5 months, that cannot be a good thing under no circumstances.
It's not a good thing. But let's not forget, in wrestling years, guys don't come in. Guys don't get it. Sometimes guys hit their stride not until they're 35 or even more. 10 years ago, AJ Styles couldn't cut a promo.
Exactly.
Yes, I get that. What I'm saying is there's 12 spots. You decided to put 12 guys that are 35 and over. 2 of them, the 2 youngest, I think Drew McIntyre and I forgot who else, were 35. Everyone else was 40 and up. And I get it. I say there's no limit. There's no limit. If you can still work, you can still look good, you can still cut a promo, I want people to retire.
And let's be clear.
I don't want to retire.
Embarrassing themselves. None of those guys look like shit or like dragging the carcass out there.
I'm not saying it could. Look, like I said, they deserve to be in the match. Absolutely. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be in the match, but there are guys that should be at least on television presented, whether it's true or not. Andrade should be presented like he's as good as Jeff Hardy in this stage of his career.
At least as good as Jeff Hardy. Yeah.
He should be. I love Jeff Hardy, but they haven't booked him well either. So if you badly book Jeff Hardy, if you book Andrade strong, he should be better than a poorly booked Jeff Hardy.
Andrade doesn't have a quarter of the charisma that Jeff Hardy has.
I'm not saying he does or doesn't. I'm
But
saying
that matters.
well, okay. So I mean, I can go down the list and find. Okay, Angel Garza has a shit ton of charisma.
There's a shit ton of potential, for sure.
And he was. I don't see what he can't do for WWE television. He's charismatic. He's attractive. He can work. He doesn't rely on high flying only. He relies on character stuff.
Correct, but the thing is for him is that he hasn't been booked and placed in these kinds of situations where he could be there. And the thing is that even if Garza would have been on TV every week for the entire year 2020 going into 2021, at no moment, with the exception of the tag team run he had with Andrade, at no other moment was he ever booked to even be able to sniff the level of what this match was from a perception standpoint.
I get that.
There's a lot of levels that he still has yet to even begin to scratch. So you can't get him to this match without him wrestling all of the other levels that are underneath, which are several.
I mean, there's been young people in elimination chambers in the past. We've seen young guys in the same ring with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and we did not bat an eye because they were booked correctly. WWE does the booking to their own shows. They know Elimination Chamber is coming. They decided to book all the young people like shit and book all the old people slightly better. Not that much better. Not that much better. Slightly better. For me, focus on a couple of young guys, 2 or 3. If they're not as good as AJ Styles, I don't think that's that big of a deal.
Well, when the thing is, when you give the example of Andrade and Angel Garza, both of them are fantastic talents. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done with both of them in terms of positioning. Is there anybody else?
I don't know everyone's age off the top of my head.
Well,
but I can definitely.
It's a matter of
even if it's not a young guy, a fresh face that wasn't in WWE 15 years ago. There's plenty of those. Every time one of them comes up from NXT, he's hot for 3 weeks. They give up on him, and you know that to be true. That's not me making this up. This is almost everyone. So far, Damian Priest is surviving. He's surviving. They're because he's not really doing much. He's hanging out with Bad Bunny. They're having a good time talking Spanish in the back. And
it's hard to evaluate these guys coming up from NXT when there's no crowd.
Correct. And even when there was a crowd in Full Sail, Full Sail would listen. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of talents throughout the years that have come through the NXT system who are over on NXT because again they're always working for the same crowd of Full Sail, and there's a different relationship with the audience with the live audience in Full Sail when they had one, and then when they come up to the main roster, you're no longer wrestling in downtown Orlando. Now you're wrestling in Des Moines, Iowa. You're wrestling in Cedar Rapids, Michigan. You're wrestling in Madison Square Garden, and guess what? Not all of those audiences watch NXT, when it was on the WWE Network. And frankly, when some of those acts are introduced for the first time, it's like a fart in church. Some of the audiences don't care. And that's the risk you take.
What's funny? The Drifter, Elias Sampson, was hated in NXT. He comes to Raw, he comes to the main roster, and he got over like crazy. It's fun. It's just fun.
What I was explaining that to Lou last week. There are some guys that I don't want to see in NXT. Right now, we got Eli Drake coming in, and he's like an Elias to me. He's a guy who's main roster perfect, and NXT not so much. He doesn't fit what they do there. He can do it, of course, and he's gonna do a great job, I'm sure. But he doesn't necessarily fit them, and as soon as he gets to WWE main roster, to me, he's gonna do a much better job. It's gonna be very similar to Elias, or Elias was literally garbage in NXT, complete garbage. You wouldn't know that he had any talent, and as soon as he comes up to the main roster, it was like, holy shit, put the belt on this guy. So it's.
I don't think he's.
People don't fit NXT.
I still think Elias is the shits in the ring, but he's a good character.
Well, he's shown. I mean, he hasn't been given opportunities, so I can't say he's the shits. He's shown me good enough. Like some people, I can't tell how good or bad they are in the ring because they don't get opportunities. but the character was strong enough.
Yeah.
The character was strong enough. So anyway, we can move on from this. So Drew McIntyre. I don't even remember what happened in the match now. I'm so fired up.
Drew won.
Drew won the damn match.
Yeah, he's
You
still
had
the champ.
Kofi pin Randy Orton. I thought was funny because I know Kofi has Randy's number. They have like a little mini feud. But to me, sometimes I think it's more important for Randy not to get pinned by Kofi right now, unless you have plans to do something with Kofi, which I don't think they do. So, whatever. Randy Orton is losing easily and then blaming Alexa Bliss, who wasn't there.
That's the reason why that didn't make any sense. See, it would have made sense had there been one moment where it's like either the lights go dark for a moment or Alexa Bliss is on the stage, something. But the fact that Kofi Kingston just pinned him,
it's a running joke, which is fine if Kofi's gonna do something with that victory.
We need
to have him beat Randy for no reason, basically.
I don't need any callbacks from stuff that happened 10 years ago when, with all due respect, Randy Orton has been booked like a star and Kofi Kingston has not over the last year. I don't need to see that. That was nonsense.
Yeah, completely agree. Where you going with that? And then Randy Orton comes out of Raw and says, "Oh, I've just been distracted." You were distracted every other time except last night when you just flat out lost.
Yeah.
I lost.
That was the only time you weren't distracted.
Lost easily.
Yeah.
The final two, of course. Well, you had the final three is Sheamus, AJ, and McIntyre, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Then AJ is gonna eliminate Sheamus. McIntyre is gonna eliminate AJ. You know what I hate about some of these when you have a stipulation that's like a no disqualification, anything goes, whatever, like a chamber is. So they threw out, what's AJ's guy? Omas? How do you pronounce his name?
Omas.
However you pronounce it. They kick him out, which is fine.
Black Colossus.
You want to kick somebody out. I say the referee does have the right. However, I'm going to walk away and then I'm going to go, wait a minute. What are you going to do? You're going to disqualify AJ? Oh, no, you're not, because there's no disqualifications. Why the hell would I leave?
I'm going to suspend you indefinitely. If you
didn't say that.
I know, but that would have been my play.
No, that's not a good play. Why? You can't suspend me. There's no disqualifications. Why would I leave? That makes no sense. I would never leave in a million years. As a matter of fact, he should be in that damn ring. He should have went into the pod with AJ, like, what's up? Do something. Not that he fits, because he probably doesn't fit.
Yeah.
I always call back to New Day. Thank God they had, a voice back in the day when they were red hot, and they said, all three of us are going in the pod. And there's nothing anyone could do about it. And it's true. There's nothing anyone could do about it. All three of them went in the pod, and no one could stop them because you can't disqualify them. Anyway, that's just a side thing that always bothers me. It happens all the time. People get thrown out or whatever, and it's like there's no rules.
I would have just simply said prior to the match, no minions at ringside, no managers.
You could do something like that. Before the match, you can do something like that. You can explain if you show up and ruin this match, you will be fined and you will be suspended indefinitely. And AJ will be suspended too. Whatever you want to do, but you gotta explain it. Give him an out so that he doesn't look like a fool. Right. And AJ's a smart guy who's been wrestling for 20 years. He doesn't know there's no disqualification. I would have been like, "Where are you going, you idiot? Come back, come back. It's fine. It's fine." But yeah, so Drew's gonna pick up a nice victory here, and of course you have the aftermath with Lashley coming out and just destroying him, looking like a complete badass. And then Miz comes out. Miz cashes in. Miz wins the WWE Championship, which I would have no problem with. They could have sold me on it, except that Miz hasn't done much of anything for a long time. and they haven't given us not even a sign that he is any good. You know, they haven't given him.
He has the briefcase. There's your sign.
I know he has the briefcase, but he's been losing to everyone.
In history, if you go back, every time, especially when a heel has the briefcase, they lose the whole time they have it. They lose because it doesn't matter. They still have the briefcase, so they stay relevant, and more than relevant, they stay strong. And then it's even more of a surprise when they lay low for a while. Maybe they don't have to be all over the place doing all these things, but they still have that briefcase, and then they come out of nowhere. Although this was I have to say this was a little predictable. I mean, this whole fucking match was a vehicle for this to happen, and that's it. You know, it's Drew won, and then you have Lashley, which I'm not saying it was booked badly. It was fine. It was a means to have this happen, but I had no problem with it. I thought it was fine, and I think Miz does deserve it. I'm not a Miz hater at all.
I think Miz doesn't get enough credit. And I think Miz should be given opportunities like this, but you should book to that. That's all I'm saying. Book to it. Even if once you knew you were going to put the briefcase on him, give him some moments at least. Even if it's not wins, give him something meaningful. You know, give him a couple of good things so that we remember, like the way they booked Lashley, which is keep him strong enough just in case. Same thing with the Miz to me. It's keep him strong enough, not dominate like Lashley. I'm not saying it's different characters.
Yeah. Hey.
You use different psychology with the Miz. He's a different type of character, but it has to be the same idea that okay, in case if we're gonna go with Miz eventually, let's give him enough so that when it happens, it's not like really. Because that's kind of what it felt like to me. It's like okay, I know they kind of had to do it, except they didn't. Because they could have put the briefcase on a hot, young, up-and-comer.
I hope you're not talking about who I think you're talking about.
No, I'm not talking about anybody. I'm just saying, in general, they could have chosen somebody who was a little bit hotter, you know, or booked a little bit better. Anyway, I think they're going to fix it. I don't know how they're going to fix it. They can go a couple of ways. I think they're going to have Lashley beat The Miz before Mania, whatever, probably at Fastlane, or next week, or probably next week, whatever. Let's see what happens. Then Lashley's going to be the champ, and then Drew is going to face Lashley at Mania, which I'm okay with. They booked Lashley like a monster, and now the booking will only get better because now they know for sure that they're going with Lashley. I don't like McIntyre beating Lashley so soon.
Oh,
I would delay it. I would delay it past Mania. I want people to think. I would want people to think, okay, well, McIntyre is going to get his big moment. It's going to be, yay, everybody's going to be happy for McIntyre. I want you to make Lashley the monster that McIntyre cannot overcome just yet. And give Lashley a nice 6-month run or a little longer. And McIntyre will get him eventually, but not so soon. And if they do that, then I'll be okay with everything.
I think I agree with you. I like that take. I like that fantasy booking with Lashley. I couldn't say it better. Unless the only thing I can say different is maybe you have Lashley win it somehow, or win it at WrestleMania. You know, you do something like that. You could have maybe I don't know, triple threat with the three of them. I don't know, but I got no problem with that. And I hope Lashley does get a lengthy title reign and have a nice series of matches with Drew, and then Drew eventually overcomes, but you know, not right away. I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah, part of me thinks that Bobby Lashley being WWE champion isn't going to happen for a little while, and we're talking. Listen, I got a feeling that Miz is going to end up being the WWE champion come WrestleMania, and it's going to be a 3-way match with Miz, Lashley, and Drew. Drew's going to beat the Miz, become the WWE champion again. But now you have a situation where Lashley lost the United States title, got screwed out of the WWE title, and never got beat. Then you got yourself a storyline that you can tell for months on end. because you've laid down that foundation. I don't see as listen, as much as I hate the fact that the Miz won the title the way he did, and again, I'm not a Miz hater either. I'm the first one to say I have a ton of respect for Michael Mizanin and the fact that he's been wrestling in the WWE, if I'm not mistaken, probably since like 2004, 2005. And he's been there the entire time, has never left, never worked anywhere else. He's been probably the longest tenured, single tenured, current roster member on the WWE side. That's the full-time wrestler. I might be wrong, but I'll stand by that for now. I have a ton of respect for him, but here's where the issue lies. Miz has been booked primarily as a mid-card guy almost his entire WWE run. And it's not, and again, it sucks because the 2 title reigns that he's had, he's been placed in probably the most disadvantageous positions for him to look. The first title reign, he was squeezed in between John Cena and The Rock. And with all due respect, when you look at John Cena and you look at The Rock and you look at The Miz, one of these things is not like the other. Sorry for The Miz. You're the odd man out. This year, he's been booked as essentially a joke, as a joke guy who can just cut really good promos when he needs to. But again, I don't care if you can cut a good promo when you're getting your ass kicked by Bad Bunny. Sorry, friend. All the great promos in the world mean jack squat. And when you're going to put The Miz in between potentially Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, again, I'm sorry, one of these things is not like the other. Miz, you're the odd man out. Listen, these are the kinds of things that frustrate me because the Money in the Bank briefcase, and I know that I've spoken about this in private with other friends of mine that are wrestling fans, and I tell them the WWE needs to book the Money in the Bank briefcase like New Japan does with their stuff, meaning whoever is the carrier of the briefcase is somebody who has been presented for a previous amount of time, 6 months, 8 months, a year. They've been presented as something, as someone that we need to be on the lookout for. When you give them the briefcase, that briefcase, first of all, I think the WWE should change the rules on how that briefcase is cashed in, meaning the person that has the briefcase has to announce when and where they're going to do it. None of this sneaking in bullshit. It's a booking crutch that has to stop. It has to stop. It is a bad booking crutch. One, that has to change. The person who's the carrier of the briefcase has to announce when and where they're going to cash it in. Number 2, that person has to actually defend the briefcase. Actually treat the briefcase like a championship, where guys can come and say, I want to challenge you for this. Because again, it's a matter of the person who carries the briefcase cannot be somebody who's losing to every Dick, Tom, and Harry on the roster and say, oh, well, they retained their heat because of the briefcase. Then you get something like this where you have someone like Drew McIntyre, who has been the epitome of the ultra uber perfect babyface champion, and he loses. Sorry, with all due respect, he's losing to somebody who is nothing more than a mid-card dude who's been booked like shit for the better part of the last year. I don't care. They created an atmosphere that made it perfect for the Miz to win, meaning McIntyre wrestled 35 minutes in the chamber. He got his ass kicked by Bobby Lashley. The booking and the way that it was told was logical, but it's still the Miz. If the last thing I saw from the Miz is having Bad Bunny embarrass him and smack him up, why should I believe that the Miz can take out Drew McIntyre even under those circumstances? It's embarrassing.
I think you and I could have took him out under those circumstances after Lashley got through with him.
Yes,
and he was in a chamber match. Miz has always been presented as a guy who can only win the WWE title under those circumstances, and he has times.
But what ends up happening is that now, when you're thinking about potentially having the Miz being in the main event of WrestleMania defending the title, I'm sorry. That tastes like a plate full of piss to me. That does not taste good. It's not palatable. All due respect to the Miz, because he's a fantastic talent. But under these circumstances, you need to know what lane you're supposed to be in, and brother, you're in the wrong lane. You know, it's like, again, this has nothing to do with skills and talent. It has to do with perception and levels. And the thing is that if you've been perceived as one thing, and then you go and you skip 6 steps up to the tippity top level, and there's no bridge in between, for the educated fan, they're going to look at that and be like, why the hell should I accept this? It looks phony. It looks stupid, especially considering that Drew McIntyre has already lost the championship one time before. So it's not as if Drew McIntyre has been undefeated for the last year, and it just so happened that the Miz caught him at the most inopportune moment.
And he got pinned by Sheamus recently.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you're going to do something like this, the moment, as Victor would say, has to be is that McIntyre has been undefeated, unmarked, unblemished. Nobody can beat him. No matter what the circumstance, he always overcomes. It just so happened that Drew McIntyre had to beat 5 other guys and then got his ass kicked by the monster Bobby Lashley right afterwards. Logically speaking, I mean, you know, even Hornswoggle could have shown up and pinned him under those circumstances. So it makes all the sense in the world that the Miz would beat him that way. But the story is that McIntyre is not King Midas, not golden shiny enough, because he's already lost, and the Miz has beaten no one over the last year. So when you juxtapose those two things together, it just looks like shit at the end, because now you're thinking, okay, well, do we put Bobby Lashley to beat the Miz? Why should I care? They're both heels.
Yeah, I don't want to see that match.
And the thing about it is that I've been loving everything with Bobby Lashley, but with the Miz, I'd change the channel, or I'd go to the other room. I don't need to watch his segments. So if Bobby Lashley is somebody who's been booked for the last 6 months, 7 months, 8 months as a big deal, I buy it, I'm into it, and I want to see him get his big moment. Drew McIntyre has been the man for the last year, as from December 2019, January 2020 up until now. He's been the man, and he's done a fantastic job. Sorry to the Miz, but brother, you are out of your lane in this particular environment. And I don't care how many badass promos you can cut and basically, you know, telling the quote unquote smart mark internet fans to go piss off. Dude, no, just sorry. Because the thing is, every single match that you're in now, you're going to have to be booked as a chicken shit heel when the WWE Championship has been defended as a prize trophy, whether it be in the hands of Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, or whomever the hell else was the champion prior to you. It's been defended as a prize trophy, and now we're going to have it booked in the hands of a chicken shit heel who's going to try to run away at every single opportunity. And I'm like, no. If you want to do that, have him work with Bad Bunny, have Bad Bunny smack him around, and keep it that way. But if you're going to put him to have the WWE Championship, you got to book him a hell of a lot stronger prior to it, so that for me as a fan, as an educated fan, I could watch that and be like, you know what? All right, I can, bravo. But under these circumstances, hell no. This was garbage. It's just, it's a booking that they just needed. They needed to pay off the briefcase. But again, WWE has to start considering, either if you're going to do Money in the Bank, you need to start building guys up. That's to Victor's point. You got to build guys up many months in advance. And if you're not ready to do it, then you're not obligated to have the match. You're not obligated to do it. And if you do put it on somebody who is not perceived as being ready, then the whole booking has to be is that you have to justify that person's having the briefcase, and you have to justify it every week on TV, having them win big matches and give you the big moments, so that when the time comes to cash it in, then the fans are ready to see whatever's going to happen. Again, change the rules about the Money in the Bank. No more of this cashing it in at any moment. Cut that nonsense out. It's a booking crutch that sucks. They don't know how to do it right. Number 2, make sure that whoever's going to have the briefcase is somebody who's been booked properly. And number 3, defend the damn briefcase like it's a championship, because then it's going to give more credence to that briefcase. It's going to have more meaning to it, and it's going to give much more meaning and much more justification to the person who actually holds it.
If you get rid of the stipulation that they can't cash it in anywhere at any time, then you might as well get rid of the whole thing entirely, because then it's just the #1 contender. I mean, which is fine. They might Might be so.
It's an automatic title shot. I mean, for some, listen, you can put it on for somebody who would be like, hey, they would never get another opportunity under normal circumstances. They're the holder of the briefcase.
Like the Miz?
Correct. But that's what I'm saying. Like the Miz would not be able to get it. But the thing is that, again, to your point earlier, you can book the Miz like shit and have him lose to everybody because his heat is retained by the briefcase. The thing is that then when it comes time to cash it in against the guy who's been beating everybody and has got all the babyface shine, you know, you're not, because the thing is, when you look at a return match, are you excited to see what would be a quote unquote fair match between the Miz and Drew McIntyre when you've already seen them work against each other and Drew McIntyre's tossed him around like a pillow, like a sack of garbage all over the ring? They
don't do the rematch. The rematch clause, thankfully, is a thing of the past. So you don't have to necessarily worry about that.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of do it, but when they don't want to do it, they say, "Oh, it's a thing of the past." Because as you remember, Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton fought about 17 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Drew McIntyre was pulling out the old Christian thing. One more match.
Drew McIntyre beat Randy's ass and then came back and was like, you know what? I think we can do it one more time. Like, why not? It's like, what? You already beat it. You beat his ass. How much worse are you gonna beat this guy's ass? So you need to do it again.
I put you in the ambulance. I sent you on your merry way. But hey, you want to wrestle one more time in the cage? Sure, why not?
Shit.
Like, come on. I mean, it's just a matter that in this particular case, I think the WWE, booked themselves in a bit of a tight position because they had to pay off the briefcase with the Miz. And I think, in all honesty, if you wanted to, you could have paid off the briefcase with the Miz at WrestleMania. Put. I know that sounds weird. Yeah, I know you're looking at me like, whoa. But what ends up happening is between now and WrestleMania, and of course it's not enough time. But if you would have been booking the Miz stronger over the course of however many months prior, and then he and Morrison can wrestle against Bad Bunny and Damian Priest or whatever gimmick they want to do at WrestleMania. The Miz could take the loss. The Miz's team could take the loss with Morrison losing, and then he can cash in. But the thing is that when you're booked so poorly and you beat no one and you look bad, meaning not that you look bad like you look sloppy, meaning you look bad as you don't look tough. You're not beating anybody. You're not really getting any heat, and your matches are, for lack of a better term, they're passable, meaning that you don't have to see them. Then not passable, but skippable is probably the right word. You can skip them. Then you don't want that. You don't want that guy carrying the gold. You don't.
He's a short-term champion, though.
Sure. I mean, it'll be fine, but I'm saying these things are important, and I think WWE needs to go back to treating it like it's really, really. It should be a huge deal. And you know what sucks even more? The Miz has the ability to cut one promo and turn everything around. That's how good of a promo he is. The right promo in the right situation could literally get you excited about him potentially winning a title, or after he wins the title. I've seen him cut promos that I was like, oh shit, that made me a complete believer in the Miz. But this whole buildup has been him and Morrison just singing and rapping and having a good time. So
the timing is a little suspect. You're right.
Literally, he could have cut one fight. Something bad happens to him. He loses 3 matches in a row, and right there he goes, you know what? Enough is enough, and cut the fired up promo like he did on Talking Smack to Daniel Bryan. But he's also had similar promos on television. So he's definitely capable when he's really, really pissed and not getting the respect he feels he deserves. Even if it's just in his own mind as a character. In his own mind, he deserves this amount of respect. He's not getting it. And regardless of how, cheesy his character is, that'll piss anybody off. And seeing him pissed off, kind of like the way Ric Flair used to get pissed off, that type of emotion, that type of passion, and then on his way to winning a title, I think that would have helped him a lot. But that's not the route they went. Anyway, Joe, we're pretty much done here. You have any final thoughts? Anything you want to tell the people?
The one final thought. One more thing about this show. I didn't like that there's 2 chamber matches. I thought you could have got to Miz cashing in another way. There's been so many of these matches over the years. I don't know what else these guys can even do anymore. I don't think they know what else they can do anymore. So now you make 2 of them, 2 matches. You have, like you said, so there's a lot of guys. The average age was 94 or something like that. I mean, it's just throwing a lot of guys in there. It would have been better served, in my opinion, just being 1 elimination chamber match on this show and every year. You don't have to have the champion defending it against everybody on the roster in 1 match. It's overkill, and you just come up with a different way to get to Miz cashing in besides the goddamn chamber match. It can be done.
I mean, I've already kind of said that realistically, this program would have been a lot better had they had 1 chamber match, 3 guys from Raw, 3 guys from SmackDown.
Absolutely.
And the winner of that match gets to face the champion that Edge does not choose.
Right, like it used to be.
So that means that Edge gets first dibs. The winner of the chamber match gets, I don't want to say gets sloppy seconds, but they can either choose to wrestle, potentially, let's just say Drew McIntyre, because that's after Edge chose Roman Reigns. The winner faces Drew McIntyre, or they can go fight the NXT champion, which I would have doubted that, but let's just say they had that option.
Or the chamber would be like the last chance because usually the Rumble winner would have chosen already.
Yep, and then
now the chamber, that's your last chance to really get to be in WrestleMania.
In the main event, and I think that would have made for much more interesting matchups, because what you do is at that point is that you eliminate, with all due respect, you eliminate some of the filler in those matches, because if you only had to take 6 of those 12, you wouldn't have taken Jeff Hardy, you wouldn't have taken Kofi Kingston, Baron Corbin wouldn't have been in that match, Sami Zayn would not have been in that match, and probably Jey Uso wouldn't have been in that match. Like there's a lot of other caveats, and then when you start tightening that field up to say we got Orton, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens,
what's gonna happen?
Cesaro, Daniel Bryan. Like when you narrow it down to those guys, then you're like, okay, now, then you're talking like every elimination matters. Everything in the match is like, who is going to win? It's just there's a lot more intrigue there, because you're making the field a lot smaller, and then every single guy there is somebody who you're like, oh, I believe that so-and-so can win, or so-and-so can win. And, then you can tell a lot more interesting stories. But I think that having the 2 chamber matches, you got to have 12 spots. And I'm not saying that the WWE doesn't have 12 guys that are hot enough to be in those matches. It's just a matter that at this point in the game, you already kind of know who's who when it comes to the top slots for the WrestleMania matches of that year. And, if you would have had just 1 match with 6 guys, it would have been a much more interesting development in terms of how do you tell the story.
See, booking this shit is easy.
It's not hard, bro.
No problem.
I've said it. This isn't rocket science, man. I mean, even though I'm armchair quarterbacking it, but this ain't the
I'm half kidding. I'm half serious. You don't need to have all if you would have tightened that field a little bit, like you said, 1 elimination chamber match, there's a world of good.
Yeah. I think they really need to consider getting rid of all the pay-per-views that are based around matches.
Oh, please, all of them.
Yeah.
Besides the
Elimination Chamber, what else?
Money in the Bank, because imagine a world, right? Especially for WWE that likes to book everything last minute and likes to do last minute changes. And if you're a company that likes to do everything last minute and have last minute changes, wouldn't it be better if you can pull out a Money in the Bank when you need it, or Hell in a Cell when you need it, or Elimination Chamber when you need it?
When it makes sense.
Yes. It's like, okay, we have too many contenders for Drew McIntyre. Damn it. Or we don't have a contender at all, right? We don't have one for Drew and we don't have one for Roman. What do? Let's do a chamber match.
Or we have this blood feud. We have this personal fucking blood feud.
Yeah, let's do Hell in a Cell.
We've had a series of matches. Well, it's time for Hell in a Cell. Not just because it's October.
Exactly.
Well, because The thing is that WWE went from the point of having matches that needed gimmicks to gimmicks that needed the match.
Exactly.
And the thing is that once you go to the ladder and you start looking at gimmicks that need a match, at that point, I'm not saying that you'll never get it right, but it starts becoming a lot more hit or miss. I mean, like this past October, they had 3 Hell in a Cell matches. Although all 3 of them were very good in their own way, because it's not like the matches sucked, they didn't, but it's overkill. It's overkill. Only one cell match.
Yeah.
Because the whole derivative of the show, the main event is that one main match. You don't put the cell on first, then have it in the middle, and then have it again at the end. It's like by the end, it's like you don't really care because you've already seen it twice. The allure of the cage is gone, and it's just becomes a big giant red prop. Money in the Bank, same thing. I'd rather see it at WrestleMania or SummerSlam as a gimmick match that you can use. You no need to have a pay-per-view set around it. These are gimmicks that need to be pulled out when you need them, not every year. Like, oh well, this pay-per-view's coming up, so now we're gonna have to we have to create a match around the gimmick. And I'm like, no, the gimmick has to fit whatever story in the match you're trying to tell. And until they go back to that way of booking, it's always going to be somewhat ass backwards.
WCW fucked up War Games that way. They used to have it, when it was needed, and then it became every September.
And well, here's the thing too. What ended up happening is that part of it is that when it comes to the Elimination Chamber and the Hell in a Cell and matches, and even War Games on NXT, even though it's a fun match, even though this year's event was not that great, but what ends up happening is that in today's wrestling environment where blading, bleeding, all of those things they're no-nos in pro wrestling, those matches then lose a lot of their effect and a lot of the things that make, like, if you're going to be in an Elimination Chamber match like this one here, you're going to tell me that you're going to have 6 grown men beating each other up and no one's going to bleed?
No one's going to have a mark on them.
They're not a mark on them. Are you going to tell me that in a Hell in a Cell match that is basically designed to be the blow off of a blood feud, that no one bleeds? Are you going to tell me that in War Games, 4-on-4, 5-on-5 in a double ring cage, you're going to tell me no one is going to bleed? Like the logic behind them makes no sense, because the gimmicks already precede that the logic says you're fighting in a cage, you're going to come out bloody. Like the logic goes together, and unfortunately now that bleeding is a no-no in professional wrestling, it kind of seems like those matches you got to get a lot more creative to tell the stories. Not saying you can't do them or they can't be done well, because they have, but it's just a matter that you can't do them so often, because when you do, it's just like they're much more see-through at this point than they were, in the years gone by.
Joe.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yeah, just my little quick plugs. Sports_group_therapy on Instagram, and SGT podcast on Twitter. Every week we're coming at you. Episode 70 this week. Coming at you from Bayonne Tattoo Shop. Should be interesting.
Are you going to be getting a tattoo, Joe?
I have enough, I think, for now. But we're trying to get Lou to get one, because he has virgin skin. So
Lou, the one that if you look at their faces and you look at all of them and go, okay, who's most likely to have a tattoo? You would think Lou has tattoos covering his neck, and so Lou's the virgin skin.
Not me.
The one with the mean mug.
Yeah, no, and Jose too has no tattoos, but he ain't gonna be there this week. But we're trying to get Lou to get something inked up a little bit. But I don't know. That's like pulling teeth. We'll see what we can do.
Tell Lou to get a tramp stamp that says grimy. And
I'm passing that along for sure, Vic. I got you.
That's the way to go, if you ask me.
Sounds like a great idea.
Well, anyway, it's been real. Let's do this again sometime. It looks like we have to do a little a tribute to managers of the past someday. So we'll call you. We'll call you when we do that.
Oh man,
I don't need to prepare for that one. I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
so that's gonna be so much fun.
We'll set that up. That'll be a special weekend episode.
Can't wait. Bonus. right.
A bonus episode. It'll come out real soon, boys. Real soon.
Like that in WrestleMania season.
All right, we'll keep in touch.
All right,
Anyway,
guys.
we're out of here.
My pleasure, guys.
Peace.
Good, y'all. See you next week.